All right. Hello again, adventures, and welcome to another exciting episode of Daily December 2023. This is day 15 because I can count and remember how days work. So today, I still feel like absolute garbage. My depression and anxiety are through the roof. And so I am going to do one of the things that I used to do years and years and years ago when I just needed to get out of my own brain. I haven't been doing it as much, but it's something I like to do, and that is build a 4th edition D&D character. I thought about doing a 5e character, but to be blunt, I like 5th edition. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those who's like, oh, 5th edition is too simple. No, it's a remarkably complex game. However, playing D&D 5th edition is a lot more fun than building things in D&D 5th edition. Whereas in 4th edition, building things in it can be almost as fun as playing, because everything in here is nonsense. If anyone has not heard me rant about my love for 4th edition, the thing that made 4th edition for me so special was the fact that every class got to be super badass. And I can hear people arguing, oh, well, 5th edition, you can be badass as any class. Yes and no. If you're a champion fighter, then your character sheet looks anything but badass. It basically will have a weapon that you might have a really cool weapon that's kind of badass, but most of your abilities are very boring and bland because it's a relatively simple class to play. You know, it's built on the idea that they don't. The champion fighter is in and of itself just designed to make your attacks more impactful. And the way that they do that, and that's technically how all fighter subclasses work in 5e, but the way that they do that is they just make every attack do better stuff. They increase your crit chance, other stuff like that, and they just make it kind of easier to play a fighter. But when you're just reading it, it's kind of boring. Now, if you're actually playing it, there's a lot of stuff. I don't think champion fighters are boring to play. They're just a very specific play style. But I do think they're very boring to build. And in 4th edition, because everything is powers based, anytime you gain a new ability, which is every single level, you will gain at least one new ability in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's a power, whether it's a feat, whether it's choosing an epic destiny or a paragon path, you just get to do cool things. And they describe them. There's flavor text for everything. Whereas in 5th edition, they do have flavor text for most things, but the flavor text is generally very generic, where the flavor text in 4e is very, very specific. Also, big numbers. There's lots of big numbers. Big numbers are everywhere. And the game was just about dialing everything up to 11. It's a really, really fun system to play. So, yeah, that's what I want to do. And this is my channel, so I get to do that. So, yeah, this is the old offline D&D 4th edition character builder, which may or may not exist on the internet somewhere. I have no knowledge of that, and obviously would never, ever find a place to download it and then a patch thingy so that it actually gives me all the options that were ever available in 4th edition. I would never, ever do something like that. But here is something that just happens to have that there, and I don't know where it came from. So we're going to build a character. And what I've been thinking of doing... So, technically, the very first character I ever played in a tabletop RPG, because the first tabletop RPG I ever played was the Dragon Age RPG. And the reason it was the first RPG I ever played was I had a board game club thing. Once a week, a bunch of friends would drive to my apartment and we would play board games there. It was entirely inspired off of the Geek and Sundry show Tabletop. This is hosted by Will Wheaton. Tabletop got me really interested in board games because before then, board games to me were things like checkers and Clue. And I hated Clue. Clue to me is the most boring game ever. And I've never enjoyed Clue ever. We used to play Monopoly with my brother. And the only reason I enjoyed playing that was when you rolled doubles, different things happened. And that actually made it fun. Otherwise, Monopoly is a ungodly boring game to me as well. And Risk and all those other board games like that. But Tabletop showed these really cool board games like Ticket to Ride and Small World. And so I got a group together and we started playing board games. But I had been watching Acquisitions Incorporated for like a year or so at that point, and I really liked that. And I wanted to play D&D, and I didn't know how to get started. And I also... they played 2 episodes on Tabletop. They actually played the Dragon Age RPG. And I had never played a Dragon Age game at this point. So this was my first introduction to just Dragon Age. And it was a really cool 2-part episode. And they had a free starter kit for the Dragon Age RPG. And so I downloaded it. And I first... got my players to play one of the D&D board games, which you can't really see them, but they're way over there. D&D used to have these board games that were basically 4th edition without character development. They were an RPG in a box, and they were actually pretty fun. And so I got them to play that first, and they had fun. I said, well, would you guys mind if we tried playing an actual RPG? And they were interested in it, and so I GM'd that. And then I said, well, if you guys would like to play a real RPG, like D&D is a thing, and somebody else agreed to DM for us. And so my first ever character that I made, and I made it through this, the first ever character that I made was, where are you? I think it was, because I did this pretty late in, there we go. I played... a blade singer because I thought it was really cool, and I actually played a tiefling blade singer because for whatever reason I was really into tieflings at that point. I don't know why. I just like tiefling just sounded really cool. Oh, a devil person, and I understand now that blade singing is an elf thing, and it was really weird to have a tiefling do it, but whatever. And so that was my first character I played, and it was an Essentials character, and it was really weird. And that campaign died after our paladin fucked a rug. I'm not kidding here. We had this guy who played an atheist paladin because he was an atheist in real life and couldn't accept the idea that in a fantasy game where there are actual gods that anyone could ever actually believe in them. So he was an atheist paladin, and he used to get mad and throw shit around my apartment when he didn't roll well. And he got really, really pissed off that paladins generally have a decently high charisma score. And he kept trying to have sex with everyone, just kept failing miserably. And so finally we get down to this, we're going through this dungeon, and he goes, I haven't been able to have sex with anything. Fuck it, I'm going to fuck the carpet. And there happened to be a trap there, and he rolled really, really well. And so his ejaculate gummed up all of the mechanisms of the trap and basically disabled it. So he fucked the trap to death. And that was really the last session that we had. We were like, no, we're good. We're good. So after that, I called up a friendly local game store that was about like 15, 20 minutes away from my apartment. And I said, hey, do you guys do D&D? And they said, well, we're actually starting up. Why don't you just come in and talk to the dungeon master, and he can tell you what you need. And I went in, and I bought my very first set of dice, which I still have, except I think I'm missing one die. I think I might have lost the D6 for that set, which really upset me. But So I bought my first set of dice, and I went in and I talked to this dude, and he's like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. Just make a level 1 character for 4th edition. And we played the Scales of War campaign, which is a pre-written campaign. And my very first character that I actually played for more than like a couple sessions. This one I played for, I don't know, maybe like 6 months to a year. Was a Swordmage. And I basically treated him as like an arcane paladin kind of thing. And sword mages are really, really cool. The kind of equivalent of a sword mage in 5th edition is the Eldritch Knights, because they have a kind of similar... they fill a similar role where they're kind of built to be to tanks, but sword mages could do so many more cool things. And there really isn't a way to recreate a 4th edition sword mage in 5th edition, just because there are things that don't exist, like the marking system doesn't exist in D&D 5th edition. And if you were to homebrew a lot, you could probably come up with ways to mimic some of their abilities, but it just wouldn't quite fit the same. So I think what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to recreate my sword mage, and I'm going to level him up to 30. I'm going to level him to max level and just choose everything through there, because I never got to do that. I think when the campaign ended, I think my sword mage was, I think 6, like level 6 or 7. Like we never got out of the adventure tiers, I think what they call it. Basically the tier 1, 2. There were basically 3 things. You had adventure tier, paragon tier, epic tier. And adventure tier was basically kind of a combination with in 5th edition there's 4 tiers. There's tier 1, which is 1 to 4, tier 2 is 5 to 10, tier 3 is 11 to 16, tier 4 is 17 to 20. And the vast majority of games are played in tier 1 and tier 2. In 4th edition it was just adventure tier. Was when most adventures were played. Like you very rarely got above level 10 or 11 in 4th edition. So yeah, I never got to choose a paragon path for him. I never got to choose an epic destiny or see all the cool abilities you get at high levels. So I think I'm just going to recreate my which I already have a recreation, because I think I did that for one of my daily Decembers a while back. But I'm going to recreate him here, and then I'm also going to just level him up to 30 and see what kind of crazy stuff we can make him to do. I had another character that I built specifically for this thing called 4th Core. 4th Core D&D was basically D&D hard mode, where the adventure was designed to kill off your characters, and it was done on a time limit. They were designed for convention play. And so 4th Core was supposed to be super, super hard, and they would give very, very hard limitations on what, on your characters and what you could bring and everything. And you were encouraged to bring multiple characters, because they were expecting your characters to die, and then when your character died, you would just have your next character just kind of show up in the party until you got to a certain point in the adventure where it didn't make sense for new people to just show up. And so that one was actually a sword mage Avenger hybrid that was really, really fun. But he was specifically created as a 6th level character because that's what the adventure was designed for. And I had so much fun with that character. He was a blast to play. So anyway, I want to make a sword mage. So we're going to choose a sword mage. And then the build doesn't really matter, but the Aegis does. So I think I've mentioned this a billion times before, but I'm going to explain everything anyways because it's my video, and that's the way I feel. So the Sword Mage Aegis was the Sword Mage is what's called a defender in 4th edition D&D. All classes had a role. For the people that go, yeah, and that's what ruined D&D. No, this actually isn't even the first time Dungeons and Dragons has had roles, because in 2nd edition, you had these kind of you had 4 basically different kinds of classes. You had, I think it's something like fighter. I don't know. Anyway, so 2nd edition actually did it first. 4th edition did it better. And the 4 different roles were defender, controller, leader, and striker. And defender's job was to be the tank. They were there to protect their party members. And something that every defender got, it was one of the defining features of the role, is they had the ability to do this thing called marking. Marking in 4th edition, they have versions of marking in 5th edition, but it doesn't quite work the same way, and it's not anywhere near as widespread use. But marking, basically, you would mark a target, and each defender had a different way that they marked targets. So you would mark a target, and then if that target attempted to make an attack that didn't include you, they would take a -2 penalty to that attack roll. So anytime they make an attack that doesn't include you, they actually get a detriment to their thing. And you guys can see, let's go here, there. You guys can see over here, it talks about if your marked target makes an attack that doesn't include you as target, it takes a -2 penalty to attack rolls. That's the normal marking thing. And each class had different ways to do it. The way that the Swordmage did it is they would use their Aegis. And different Aegises did different things. But they basically were close burst 2 basically meant any character or any creature within 2 squares of your character. So a burst is something that happens that radiates from your character, and burst 2 meant 2. So it's basically it's a 5x5 square centered on your character. You can mark anyone in that area as a minor action, which is a bonus action if you're in 5th edition. And yeah, you start off only being able to mark 1 creature. You can eventually do other stuff, but the different stuff was basically what would happen if they did make an attack that didn't include you. So with the Aegis' Assault, which was my personal favorite, and as you can see here, you create an arcane link between you and a foe, allowing you to instantly respond to its attacks with a counter assault. If your marked target makes an attack that doesn't include you as a target, it takes a -2 penalty to attack rolls. If that attack hits and the marked target is within 10 squares of you, you can use an immediate reaction to teleport to a square adjacent to the target and make a melee basic attack against it. And then if no unoccupied squares exist adjacent to the target. So this was basically a teleportation, and I really, really loved teleportation. And it got worse as I got more into 4th edition, because Eladrin had teleportation powers, and the Swordmage had teleportation powers, and the Avenger had teleportation powers. Like, there was a lot of different ways to just teleport everywhere. It was massively fun. You could easily become Nightcrawler super quick in the game. And so I always made Aegis of Assault. Aegis of Assault meant that if you wanted to get the most out of your marking, you generally needed to be marking a target that you weren't attacking. Because what would happen is you'd be attacking someone, and because you're already attacking them, they're already going to be attacking you. And that was the point of the mark, was to give enemies a reason to attack the tank, as opposed to, the healer or the striker or something like that. So, the way to correctly play your Swordmage is you would get to a place where you could mark a target that you weren't going to attack. Then you would get as far away from them as possible and attack somebody else, which would force them, if they wanted to make an attack, to make it against someone else, and that would trigger your Aegis of Assault, or they would miss because of the marking penalty. Either way, you are giving your team some benefit. Aegis of Ensnarement was very similar, and all the Aegis stuff for Sword Mages requires the mark basically to not work. They only get a benefit if they attack someone that's not you and actually hit them. So the Ensnarement one, basically instead of you teleporting to them, you would teleport them to you, which is kind of fun. And they grant combat advantage, which was really, really useful for a lot of different reasons. So Aegis of Ensnarement, again, played very, very differently. For an Aegis of Assault, Sword Mage, you would want to find ways to buff your melee basic attack, because a melee basic attack is literally that. It is the most boring thing that you can do in 4th edition, and most classes very rarely, if ever, use their melee basic attack, and if they do, they have ways to make it more interesting. So the Aegis, the Assault Sword Mage needs to make the melee basic attack more interesting. Aegis of Ensnarement generally just needs to have more, generally just needs to have more HP and the ability to mark targets well. And then Aegis of Shielding, you can use an immediate interrupt to reduce the damage dealt by that attack to any one creature by an amount equal to 5 plus your con. So the Aegis of Shielding was, again, even more defensive. The Aegis of Ensnarement was more of a control-based one, and Aegis of Shielding was literally just that, shielding. But I liked my Aegis of Assault because it meant that while I was a defender, I could kind of like sub-roll or secondary roll into a striker. So we're going to choose Aegis of Assault. And these builds are just, they tell you, they're basically just like, if I want to be an Assault Mage, I should take this feat, I should use these skills, and I should take these at-will powers and encounter powers and daily powers. It's just meant for people that don't really know what they're doing, to give them some guidance. I don't generally use them. I like picking on my own stuff. So let's do this. For my race, I gots to be a Ladrin. I love me my Ladrin. The interesting thing about the Sword Mage is there's actually, lore-wise, there's actually 2 different flavors of Sword Mage. The Ladrin created their own kind of school of sword magic, and it was very similar to, it was effectively because the Bladesinger didn't show up until near the end of 4th edition, whereas the Sword Mage showed up, I want to say, is either in the Forgotten Realms book, or it was Player's Handbook 3. I can't remember which. But anyway, so the Sword Mage showed up earlier than the Bladesinger, and so the Sword Mage was supposed to be kind of the 4th edition version of the Bladesinger, which showed up in 3rd and I think 2nd edition as well. And so it's one of the reasons why your at-will powers for the Sword Mage are actually Bladesinger spells. Like Green Flame Blade is a Bladesinger spell. So this is supposed to be kind of an offshoot of the Bladesingers that were much more defensive oriented. And then the Genasi also developed their own version of sword magic. And so the 2 races that were most commonly sword mages were Eladrin, and then I want to see, where are my Genasi? Genasi, there we go. Which is in the Forgotten Realms. So I'm thinking it must have been in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting. But the picture that we have here is the Genasi, and that's the kind of generic sword mage picture. But I like Eladrin because Eladrin get Phase Step, which is just, you can use your move action to teleport 5 squares, and it is an encounter power. So you can use it once per encounter. It's very, very useful. And encounter powers basically recovered after a short rest, which in D&D 4th edition was 5 minutes. So as long as you could take 5 minutes after combat, you get all your encounter powers back. And a lot of people ignored the 5-minute rest rule and would just say, okay, once the encounter's over, you get all your encounter abilities back. Because it really wasn't that big a deal. So we're definitely going to be in Eladrin. And then they had some extra stuff you could do here. So this is my standard stuff. So I get proficiency with the longsword, and I get training in a skill. But there are a bunch of other Eladrins that I don't think I took any of these. But the Lyrweir elves. So this would give me proficiency with both longbow and longbow and shortbow, but I don't get longsword proficiency, which doesn't matter because I'll get it from being a sword mage anyways. And then it's just bonuses there, and then Moon Elf for the Neverwinter. And Moon Elf is very similar to Lyrweir Elf. I don't remember where Lyrweir Elf came from. And then Sun Elf is the one that is more magic focused, so you get proficiency with orb, staff, and wand. But I'm just going to do standard Ladrin. We do that. We go forward. Themes, they call it a Dark Sun thing. It's not completely Dark Sun, but themes are basically kind of like the backgrounds that we have at the end of 5th edition, where basically the new backgrounds are really powerful and give you all these cool abilities. So if I choose a theme, like if I go Deep Delver, you'll see not only does it give me, you know, some kind of generic stuff, but it also will give me powers. So they're really, really useful. And I don't think I used this because it was just really confusing. So like this here, if I was to do that, when you use Phase Step, because you have to be a legend to do this, when you use Phase Step, you can take one adjacent ally with you, ally teleports. Then when you hit level 10, you can use Phase Step as a minor action instead of your move, so you can move and then Phase Step. And then here, a level 5, you get bonus to history checks and nature checks, and you get this. So enemy ends its turn adjacent to you, you teleport 2 squares. And then this is a daily. You can basically use your Phase Step as an interrupt. So yeah, stuff like this massively changed how the characters played. For this particular character, I kind of like the Ilianbrun Guardian. And because we're just making a crazy thing, that's what I'm going to do. So do that. And then they'll have these other ones. It's like if I wanted to use a Forgotten Realms background. So if I did this, gives me a bunch of different Forgotten Realms things that I can do. So these are more these are the more regular backgrounds that just give you kind of minor buffs. They're not themes. So you can do that as well, and you can use a bunch of them. I don't actually care about any of this stuff. I like the little Guardian because it gives me more teleportation stuff. So that's what I'm going to do, because this character's not going to actually exist in anything. So, yeah. Moving on. So, this is where things start getting interesting. So, I like to start with just auto-pick, because it just makes things easier. And I will probably come back to this a few times. So I can add either plus to dexterity or plus to charisma. Dexterity still factors into your armor class, I think, but I also think intelligence for sword mages, because they use intelligence for everything. And so your secondary ability is kind of going to be based on your on your abilities that you pick. So we will probably come back to this. But for right now, that works fine. So we can go next. Now we get to choose our skills. I played my Swordmage as Lawful Stupid. Like, he was the good... Again, I made him effectively a magic paladin. So he was always, I shall protect you, I am lawful good, and I shall do that. And it was fun to play. But that meant that I definitely needed to have diplomacy trained. Arcana, you just get trained to, because I think you're a sword mage. Yeah. Sword mages just get Arcana. And then Insight is always useful. And I liked History. But I think Endurance, because he was he's a tank, so he's going to be doing stuff. And then you just get one other thing because I'm an Eladrin. And I think I like having Perception. Religion's really good too. I think I'm going to go Perception. So, it's been so long since I've played this character. I can't remember the things that I made. Again, I'm relatively certain I've built this exact character on stream before. I just can't remember. So, I'm just going off of what I think I would have made back then. So now we get to choose at-will powers. So, and yeah, it does look like Forgotten Realms is where it showed up. So these are the different things. I always had Green Flame Blade. So as you can see, you do your attacks are based on your intelligence. So you actually don't need strength or dexterity for attacks. And that was one of the things I really loved about 4th edition is you could have your kind of attack stat be any stat. There were classes that used Constitution for your attack rolls and damage checks. It's all based on the powers that you choose. But I always do this because it's fire, and I liked fire. So we're definitely choosing that. And then I get another one. And I think I used to use Lightning Lure because it was a ranged attack. And it allowed me to pull targets to me. And I just thought it was really fun. But there's other stuff that's cool. Like Arcane Lance is interesting. So this one is melee 2. So it's actually up to 2 things. Intelligence versus Reflex. It does a d8 of thunder damage if the target is slowed until the end of your next turn. And when charging, which is a thing that all characters could do, you can use this in place of a melee basic attack. So if I wanted to build a charging kind of character, I could do this. And sword mages, because they were defenders, could get a lot of use out of charging because they would want to get, especially again, they would mark someone and they would charge into someone else. They would want to do things like that. I'm not sure about it. Booming Blade, always fun. And if the target's adjacent to you at the start of its next turn and moves away during that turn, it takes damage. And this one would want me to have a higher Constitution. Frigid Blade. This one also does that. If the target starts its next turn adjacent to you, it takes a penalty to speed equal to your con. Frostwind. So this is a lot of con stuff. I might want to go back and ditch strength for Constitution for my higher scores. So this one's kind of interesting. So damage, and then a different enemy marked by you within 3 squares of you takes cold damage equal to your Constitution modifier. So with Green Flame Blade, it's just someone next to you takes cold damage. This one, I could mark someone, then attack with Frostwind Blade, and I would do damage to the one with Frostwind Blade, and then someone else would take some additional damage. But as you can see, since it's con, it's going to be lower than my intelligence. Luring Strike was fun. So does damage, you shift a square and slide the target 1 square into the space you occupied. This could be, again, this could be really, really useful in creating situations where your marked target wouldn't be able to target you. And then Sword Burst was just Close Burst 1. You could just hit everybody around you. So I think I tend to really like Lightning Lure, but I think Sword Burst could be more fun. So I think I'm going to choose Sword Burst. And the fun thing about this, Green Flame Blade, Sword Burst, Lightning Lure, and Booming Blade all exist in 5th edition. They got added in the Sword Coast Adventures guide, and then modified when I think it was Tasha's came and added them to the rest of the game. It was either Tasha's or Xanathar's. So those things all exist, but I'm going to choose Sword Burst because it's cool. Now we get to choose our encounter powers. I think the one that I liked... So, Blazing Pursuit, and this is something that you'll see. You always get a choice when you pick a class in 4th edition that will give you basically kind of your subclass of that. And it's generally an ability. For this one, Aegis of Assault. Since I chose the Aegis of Assault, this power works differently. So if you're ever trying to find powers that are going to synergize with your build, look for the ones that use the kind of sub-power that you chose. So this one's here. You do damage. If the target is within 5 squares of you at the end of its next turn, as a free action, you can teleport to a space that must be adjacent to the target. So this one is basically, you hit them, and then after their next turn, you can just teleport. And even if they don't move away from you, as long as they're within 5 squares, you can just teleport like to the opposite side to get flanking on them or something. Like, this was a really nice kind of control ability. And it let me teleport. I'm trying to remember. So this one actually works really well with the Aegis of Ensnarement, because it's basically, it's a free action. So you teleport an enemy to a square adjacent to yours, and then you get to make a free hit attack. So that one's kind of cool. I thought there was another. Was it Lightning Clash? Sword of Sigils at Shielding, Fox's Feint, Foe's Snare. That one's cool. Gives you, it immobilizes them. Flame Cyclone. The only problem with this, it's close blast 3. So blast means it is a 3x3 square with one of the edges touching your character. So that's a directed attack. But the only issue with that is it hits each creature, not enemy. But it's an area attack, so that's cool. Falcon's Maw. It's another Aegis of Ensnarement. I'm trying to see if there's any other... No, this is the only one that's got Aegis of Assault. And again, I like teleportation stuff. I always chose anything that let me teleport more. So I think I'm going to choose Blazing Pursuit. And now our daily powers. Daily powers are fun. Vanishing Blade, if I remember correctly, was fun. So this one, 2 weapon plus intelligence modifier damage, and the target is marked until the end of your next turn. So this would let you basically mark 2 different targets. Now, it's not marked by your Aegis. It's just marked. And then you teleport 5 squares and become invisible until the end of your next turn. Until the end of the encounter, whenever you hit an enemy with a melee attack, you may teleport 3 squares as an action. This is massively fun. Because it's basically, you attack someone, you mark them, and then you teleport away. And then, for the rest of the encounter, every time you attack someone, you just can teleport. And I really, really like that. I don't think there's another one that's as much fun as that. So this one could be fun. First thing you do, target 1 creature, intelligence versus fortitude effect, teleport number of squares equal to your con, and then do that. And then it gives ongoing thunder damage. Blurring Blade, does that have... See, it's really easy to tell the ones that can teleport because they'll have teleportation in the name. So this is an ally within 5 squares you is hit by an enemy you've marked. You teleport the target to a square adjacent to you and make the following attack. So this would effectively replace your Aegis mark. Yeah, I'm going to keep Vanishing Blade because it's massively cool. And yeah, now we get to buy... we have to choose our feats. So, we have racial feats. We have class feats. We have... Heroic Tier. That's what it was called. It wasn't Adventure Tier. It was called Heroic Tier. So, we're going to start off with... This could give me a cantrip. Cantrips are lots of fun. This one's also useful. +2 to damage with long swords and spears. Proficiency with all spears. You're going to be using a sword for this character because they're a sword mage. So this can be very, very useful. This one's kind of cool too. You can use Phase Step as immediate reaction when grabbed, immobilized, or restrained to basically break out of it. And then expend Phase Step to gain combat advantages against adjacent enemies. It's okay. And anytime you see EONT is end of next turn. So. +1 to melee surge attacks and damage until enemies are combat casting. So this one's really good. Eladrin Swordmage Advance. Basically, whenever I use the Phase Step racial power to teleport to a square adjacent to an enemy, you can make a melee basic attack against that enemy as a free action. So this is basically a way to start just giving yourself more actions. Your move action can now trigger an attack. This one, each time you make a melee basic attack granted by your Aegis, you gain a cumulative +1 bonus on future attack rolls made for that. So this is a way that you can just make that better. This just means you can teleport farther. So with extended teleportation, that would mean the Vanishing Blade that lets me teleport 3 squares. This lets me teleport 4 squares now, which is fun. Intelligence, Blade Master. Oh, that's really, really useful since I'm going to be using my melee basic attacks. Right now, melee basic attack still uses strength. Your powers don't, but the melee basic attack still does. So I think I need Intelligent Blade Master since I'm the Assault Sword Mage. So we always start with that, and then I will probably take, the next time I get one, I'm probably going to take Eladrin Sword Mage Advance, because it's really useful. And I like teleporting. So, well, now we need to buy stuff. So we've got 100 gold. That's how it works. So I'm going to start off with Sword Mages use leather armor. So I'm just going to get me some leather armor. And you always buy an adventurer's kit. And then for weapons, I think I could use a broadsword, but I think I'm going to use the longsword just because it fits with how I like my character to be. So as you can see, and this is something that was also kind of interesting. So if I was to take the broadsword, proficiency gives you a +2 to your attack rolls. Damage is a D10. And then it has a bunch of things, like it's versatile. So versatile meant if you use them two-handed, you can do an extra point of damage. Sword mages generally don't use them two-handed, so that doesn't matter. But if I go with a long sword, you can see it's got a +3, so I'll hit more often, but my damage is lower. I still like long swords better. So I'm going to buy that. And then sword mages don't use a shield because they have a special ability that if you have a sword in one hand and nothing in the other, you have a higher AC. If I was to use a shield or use a two-handed weapon, then I lose that bonus to my AC. Because right now you can see my AC is 20, and it should not be 20. Not with the stuff I have, but it's because I am a sword mage. So that's really all I need. Because I don't really use implements, and I think for sword mages, they can actually use their sword as an implement. And then we go here. And again, the character's name was Talduin. And that was, I know it's spelled Eisthwan, but I always pronounced it Eichthwan. And I probably should put like an H or something in there to say that, but I don't. And then I was a dude. And alignment was always lawful good. That was another thing that they kind of changed in 4th edition, is they moved away from the alignment grid, because again, most people don't understand the alignment grid, so why keep to it? And so you had chaotic evil, evil, good, lawful good, and then you had unaligned, and I was lawful stupid, and I worshipped Corellon because he was the god for elves. And height, it was 6 foot. And weight, I was closer to 180 pounds. Because I'm a fat dude. And then I was a younger sword mage. So for an Eladrin, I was in like my 40s. Call it 45. And then you could put like your adventuring company, your player name, your RPGA. No one here remembers the RPGA, but that was a thing that you used to have. I think it eventually got replaced with a DCI number. And then they had these other things here that you could do, which were basically ways like if you were playing a Dark Sun campaign, because they would change how Dark Sun campaigns rolled because they were horribly hard. Or inherent bonuses was basically if you wanted to play without using magic weapons, because 4th edition you have to have magic weapons, you could turn on inherent bonuses. But I'm not doing any of that. So now normally what I would do is I would save it and I would change the picture because that's not me. But I'm going to level this up to 30. So what we're going to do, well, I guess what I want to do first, I want to check out the character sheet. And I don't know if it's going to automatically work here or not, or if I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to load it. So hold please. I do that. I do that. And then let's go here. that should work. Okay, and then we're just gonna go boop. It's way too big. Okay, so transform. Reset transformation. Really? Here we go. Okay, so character sheet. So this is what it was. As you can see, 20 AC. I got it. Always give you 10 plus half your level, and then armor and abilities and stuff like that. I got extra stuff. So my melee basic attack was with my longsword was +8 to attack. Damage was 1d8 +5. So pretty simple. Have it all there. Trance, Legend Will, +1 to Will. Phase Step Power, Fey Origin, Legend Weapon Proficiency, Legend Education. And then I have Sword Bond, which was cool. Choose an Aegis, Age of Assault, Swordmage Warding. So this is where I get the extra defense. So +1 AC with a blade, +3 if offhand is free, if a conscious warding ends. Which I think they errated that out. Because it just meant that sword mages were just worse than any other defender, because if they were unconscious, their armor class dropped. So that's what that was at. And then Intelligence Blade Master for my feet. Here's all my skills. That's my picture that I'll change eventually sometime. And then yeah, these were the cards. So, and I would never have Bull Rush or Gravitat because they were dumb, or Opportunity Attack. And my Aegis, my Green Flame Blade, it did all the math for me. So it's +8, 1d8 +5. Blazing Pursuit, Blanishing Blade, Faced Up. There's my second wind. I never understood why they gave you second winds twice, because you can't use it twice. Just always print the card twice. My action point. I loved all this stuff. It was just, oh, so much fun. I'm going to go here. I'm going to see real quick. I'm going to change the portrait so you guys can look at that for a second, because I have to actually go into my documents folder and stuff like that. And I don't like showing off my computer to people, so it's Avenger, Barbarian Bard, Fighter Scion, Rogue, Shaman, Sword Mage. Let's go M. There we go. We will say, I like this as my portrait, so we'll do that. And then we can go back to details. Okay, so we can go ahead and close that. Boop. Back here. Now I have a cool looking Sword Mage dude. And I can close that. Boop. Alright, so normally this is where I would save it, but I'm going to level them up. So you level up. And I'm going to do this in 3 stages. So we're going to go to level 11. So that was the first stage. We're going to 11 first. So we get to choose our Paragon path. And then we'll look at a character sheet and see how it's changed. And then we'll go to just level 30 so that we can see the final character. Yeah, let's do this. So level up. And now I get to go next. So now I get to choose power. So level 2, you get a utility power. And this is kind of cool. There's actually theme utility power. So if I want to do this, you can forward and regroup. So I could do that. Or so this is basically anytime I teleport using a Sword Mage power, I can bring somebody with me, but it's a daily. I like choosing encountering stuff. Dimensional Warp. So this, I think I had this at one point, because this is another thing that, again, marking and other stuff like this can make it really, really easy to kind of work with especially if you did this with a striker. What you would do is you would mark someone near you using your Aegis, then you would dimensional warp, which they both use minor actions, so you'd have to kind of plan things. But you would warp and switch places with them, and then the person that you marked would no longer be able to attack you. Elemental Aegis. That's kind of cool. Ghost Step. Oh, this one's kind of cool. It's a stance, and it just lets you. Shifting was basically how you disengaged in fourth edition, and instead of using your action to disengage and then you could move your full thing, you would use your move and you would shift, but you could only move 1 square or 5 feet, and that was taken from 3rd edition, which they just called it a 5-foot step, and it was how you could get out of melee distance of someone without provoking like 17,000 opportunity attacks, because everything in 3rd edition provoked opportunity attacks. So that one was, this basically doubled the amount you could shift, which was very nice. Mythal Recovery. Oh, this just lets you make a saving throw whenever you want, which is nice. I think I'm going to do Dimensional Warp, just because, again, I like teleporty stuff. So we choose that. And again, these are Swordmage powers. You also have Racial, where you do that. Or you have skill stuff. So this is all based on, this is basically all stuff that you use out of combat for the most part. So things like Farsight is a perception-based thing. Calculated Acumen. So it's actually a combat one, but it uses your skills to be able to do that through Insight, which I really, really like. Actually, I think grants combat advantage until the end of your next turn. I kind of like this just because it uses Insight. Now we get to use it in counter power. So again, I'm going to be looking for anything that allows me to teleport, which might be this. So this one is, you can teleport someone, but I want me to teleport. Do lightning strike? This one. This is one that I seem to remember using. So yeah, the way this one works, you attack something, you teleport 5 squares. Oh, and Assault actually uses my strength modifier, so that makes sense. So I might keep the strength, because you teleport 5 squares to make a second rank. This allows me to make it 6 squares, and you attack another person. So you get to attack 2 different people with this, and you get to teleport in between them. So, of course I'm choosing the teleporting power. Why would I not? Level 5, you get a daily power. So I can't remember. Oh, level 4, you just get an increase to ability scores, I think. Which is why there was nothing happening on level 4. So, what do we want? Lingering Lightning. Left of Alacrity. Ooh, it does psychic damage and immobilizes. That's fun. I want to see if there's a teleporting thing, because that's all I care about. There we go. So another one. Your sword thrust connects you with your foe and creates a dimensional bond that allows you to teleport to its location. So, does 2 weapon plus intelligence. That's not a massive amount. A lot of abilities. By level 5, you're getting like 3 and 4 weapon damage. But, until the end of the encounter, you can teleport 10 squares as a move action. You must end this movement adjacent to the target. You can just teleport as your move action as long as you do it next to him. I don't see a reason to not choose that. Again, it just gives me the ability to teleport. And again, even if the person that the person that you have to teleport next to is still right next to you, it still means you get to maneuver yourself to a better position every turn as your move action. And you don't have to, but you can. So I really like that. We're going to choose that. Now we get to level 6 for Racial Ladron Escape. This one's really fun. An enemy misses you with a melee attack, you can teleport up to 5 squares. That just gets dumb. But I think the one that I chose, and I think this was the last one I got. So this is for a move action, teleport 5 squares. And if you end this movement adjacent to an enemy, you get a +2 power bonus to the next attack roll you make against the enemy during your turn. So this is basically a second phase step, because I already have phase step that I can use as a move action. And now I can use Armathor Step as a move action. I have another teleport. Again, the hybrid Swordmage Avenger that I created forever ago could teleport like 6 times an encounter. Like, it just was always teleporting everywhere. And it was so much fun. So this one, again, allows you to teleport someone to you, which is fine if that's what you want to do. Thunder, arcane weapons, spike society. All these like terms again that also they would also interact with other powers and stuff like that, and sometimes with abilities. So that's why you always see these things here, because it'll change how things will work. Shatterblade, rejuvenated, isolating slam. So this is kind of cool. You create a wall of fire. It's kind of interesting. Fettering Aegis. Electrified Lash. And this is just straight up damage. Echo of Sword Magic. Oh, this one's kind of cool. So basically, if I use a Sword Mage attack, at will attack, and I miss, which I do a lot, I can attack each enemy within 3 squares of me, and they take 2d6 plus Intelligence Thunder, and they're marked by my Sword Mage Aegis. So specifically, it's not just they're marked. They're specifically marked by my Aegis. And so this technically allows me to mark multiple targets. I'm definitely taking that. That's super, super useful. So 9. Dimensional Echoes. Not what I was thinking. Beacon Blade sounds cool. Blade Bolt. Glamour Blade. That sounds cool. Oh, you conjure a duplicate of yourself on a solid surface at a square adjacent to the target. The duplicate lasts until the end of the encounter. You clone yourself. That's kind of cool. Lightning Strider. This is another teleport one. Because that's how I do. So basically, this one, you get, I think, 3 attacks out of it. So, intelligence versus AC. Oh, but it does strength modifier. That's weird. So first attack does that plus strength. You teleport 3 squares and make a secondary attack. 2 squares, make a tertiary attack. So this is just 3 attacks against 3 different creatures. So that's super fun. I think that might be the one that I use. Surprised it doesn't have teleport in the name, though. Icy Sweep. I don't want anything that does... I think I'm going to keep with Lightning Strider because, again, it's just very, very cool. And if you're wondering, the reason that they have Sword Mage 5 and 1 is basically if you don't like any of these, you can take one of the abilities you didn't take. If you're like stuck between 2, your level 9 ones are always going to be more powerful than your level 5. But there might be aspects where you just really like the additional abilities that are built into the daily power from an earlier level. I think I'm going to choose Lightning Strider. And then for 10, we get utility power, so Recursive Thought. Oh, so this one's kind of cool. So if somebody tries to daze or stun you and you make your save, you basically daze or stun them. So that's kind of cool. Spider's Leap. I don't do athletics. Like a feather. You're knocked prone or fall. You take no falling damage and you're knocked on. This is very, very nice. This is basically, hey, I don't take falling damage anymore. That's super nice. I think I might do that. Dimensional Dodge. This one's very cool too. So if somebody shoots me from up to 20 squares away. So, and again, a square is 5 feet. So that's 100 feet away. Somebody hits me. It's a daily, so I can only use it once. But I just go, shoop. I'm sorry. What did you do? Blop. Like, that's fun. Armor of Assault. This is a stance. Oh, and this is kind of cool. Until the stance ends, when you hit with a melee weapon attack, you gain +1 power bonus to all defenses until the start of your next turn. And because I have Assault, they give me 2. So this basically just increases my armor as long as I hit something every turn, which for me might not be the greatest thing. I really like this dimensional dodge thing. And this is an immediate interrupt. So the thing with interrupts is they happen before the attack resolves. So this would actually stop me from getting hit and would put me next to them. I'm totally choosing that. I really should look at some of the skill utility powers, but it's just so nice. I like that. So we do that. We've chosen all our powers up to level 11. The reason why we haven't chosen anything for 11 is that's when we choose our Paragon path, and we'll deal with that in a second. But we have to do feats first. So, as I mentioned before, I want Eladrin Swordmage Advance, so we're definitely taking that. And now we get to get interesting. I might do extended teleportation because I like that. +2 to heal. So with Rose King's Balm, this was something else that I thought was kind of interesting. Is these are technically class abilities, but they're for multiple classes. And so this one, if I used either Green Flame Blade or Holy Strike's a paladin ability, I get a bonus to my heal checks. And then if I hit an enemy with an attack power associated with this feat, using a longsword, that's what I use, you gain a +2 power bonus to saving throws at the end of your turn. If you ended your turn more than 2 scores away from where you started, the bonus is instead 5. So basically, every time I do this, I would improve my saving throws as long as I use Green Flame Blade. So that turns Green Flame Blade into kind of a defensive ability specifically against casters and things like that, because saving throws are mostly against area attacks and spells, not against melee attacks. Melee attacks are made against one of your defenses. So that's kind of cool. This one I would need Luring Strike, which I don't have. This one I need Booming Blade, which I don't have. And then this one I would, again, need Luring Strike. Student of Sword Magic would give me a spell book that I don't use. And this is actually kind of interesting. So this, I add my Strength modifier to Healing Surge value when in Sword Mage or Sword Mage Paragon Pass stance. So if I did have a stance, that would be useful. I'm not really getting too many that I'm liking, so I'm definitely going to take Extended Teleportation. I can get temporary hit points if I want that. That's kind of cool. I might go back here. See, I don't like the ones that allow me to use my Fey step to do something other than teleporting, because I want to teleport. But I do like Fey Escape is very useful. This is just useful because I use a longsword. So we can do that. Then I still need 2 more. Improved Swordbond can be fun. Or I can start going to these are just generic feats that any class can take for heroic. No other check penalty for wearing armor. That would be useful if I had a wisdom score, but my wisdom is worse than my dexterity. This would be kind of cool. Blind fighting is useful. So no perception, no penalty perception from blinded. Don't grant combat advantage to invisible enemies. That's useful. And then ignore partial and total concealment. Those could also be very useful. There's also here's an example: Crusader, deadly draw, defensive mobility. That's kind of fun. Far thought. Oh, I can get telepathy. That's kind of cool. And if I threw my weapons, that would be useful. Ghost Scorpion Strike. Giant Killer, Gouge. There's one that should be Heavy Blade Expertise. So this just makes me hit more often with heavy blades, which heavy longsword counts as a heavy blade. So I'm going to do that. I thought there was one after that. Supper, impeding victory, improved defenses. This would just make me have fortitude, reflex, and will defenses that are better. Or improved initiative. I like improved initiative. Let's do that. Because I am slow. So that's all my feats. We're going to go next. We get to do ability score increases. I'm always going to be increasing my intelligence. And because of this class, I think I'm also... or because of the choice I've made, I think it's going to be strength as well. So we're going to go intelligence and strength. Because again, a few of my abilities use this as strength. You'll notice that my stuff that used to be all even is now odd. That's because I believe at level 10, you just get a +1 to all your abilities, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time. So we're done with that. Now I get to choose my Paragon path. And this is where things get crazy. So, Paragon paths, again, is basically like a subclass for your character, but there's so many different ones. Like, we have these, which is any arcane class and at least 2 illusion, at will, or encounter powers. So remember when I was talking about those things, those traits after them? Well, this is where they start becoming really useful. So Battle Weave, 2d6 plus intelligence, psychic damage, suffers slowed. So this is just an area attack. Dark Watcher's kind of interesting. So this is Shadow. You can call for vigilance whenever you spend an action point. This is something that your Paragon path would always do, is they'd give you some extra benefit for using your action point. So this is specifically to fight shadows, it looks like. This is kind of cool. So this is immediate reaction. So yeah, that's the difference between interrupt and reaction. Reactions happen after everything's resolved. Interrupt happens before it's resolved. So you can blind someone. That's kind of cool. Shire Knight was one that I kind of liked for the defensive thing. I think this is one of the things that I thought about turning my character into. Oh, and look at this. You can spend an action point to teleport 10 squares instead of taking an extra action. And then whenever you're affected by a charm effect that a save can end, you make the saving throw against the effect at the start of your turn. So it just makes it even easier for that. And then we have this one here. So attack, intelligence, wisdom, or charisma +4 versus will. Until the end of your next turn, the target can't attack you. In addition, when any creature within the target's reach hits or misses you, the target makes a melee basic attack against that creature as a free action. Like this. Basically, this just goes, you're helping me now. So that one's fun. And then this one, enemy enters a square adjacent to you, you can just teleport before they attack. I might stick with the Shire Knight. Let's look at a couple other ones, because you can see there was a decent amount. Like, we have here, this one's specifically for sword mages, and I think there's a couple here that are just for sword mages. So this is specifically a sword mage Aegis of Assault one. So when you spend an action point to charge, you can use a melee at-will attack power, melee and counter-attack power in place of the charge's melee basic. And then when you use your Aegis of Assault to teleport and make an attack, you can use a Swordmage melee at-will attack power in place of your melee basic attack. So this massively changes how things work, because now you're no longer making melee basic attacks as part of your Aegis. And then this is really cool as well. So choose an at-will attack power. Once before the end of the encounter, you can use that power as a minor action after hitting with a melee to attack. So this basically means you get to attack twice once you get there, and then this is your 11th level attack. 1 weapon plus intelligence, plus 2d6, plus strength. So it's just a really good attack. Or we can go here. We need your Aegis of Assault. You add your Wisdom modifier, it doesn't help. This is all Wisdom based, so I don't need that. Ward Guardian is another one. So this one's kind of cool. Swordmage Warding is that thing that gives you increases your AC. So when you spend an action point to make an attack, any allies you can see gain, which again is effectively just a +3 to their AC, which is really nice. When you become bloodied, choose a defense other than AC. Until you are no longer bloodied, your Swordmage Warding grants a bonus to the chosen defense as well. That's kind of cool. And any allies within 5 squares, you gain the benefit of your Swordmage Warding against opportunity attacks. So this is a very defensive version. And then you have this attack here. In addition, either you deal extra force damage equal to your bonus from Swordmage Warding plus your con, or you knock the target prone. That could be very useful. But I think I want to go back. Oh, I think Ghostblade was another one that I thought about. Whenever you use a teleportation power, you gain combat advantage. Whenever you spend an action point to take an extra action, you become insubstantial. Yeah, this was the one that I wanted to do. Because this is just pure teleport. This is just pure teleportation nonsense stuff. Yeah, everything about this I love. Yeah, we're choosing Ghostblade. I love it. It's great. And then it's just going to be, don't need to save anything. So, this is it. Let's check out the character sheet now. You'll see that 10 levels apparently makes a big difference. You can see AC 26 now, and I still have pretty decent scores and everything else. My melee basic attack is now +16, because I have a bunch of other stuff that's helping it. So 16 versus AC, 1d8 +8. And then all my different stuff that I have here. And here's the other stuff from my Paragon path. So when I take an action point, I become insubstantial, which basically means I take half damage. And then gain combat advantage against target of your next weapon attack when you teleport. So every time I teleport, I get combat advantage against the next one I attack, which is really, really nice. And then I also actually have a decent... where's my... initiative? Yeah, I have an almost decent initiative. It's a +10 now. As you can see, everything is bigger in this edition. You have +10, 15, 47. It's nuts. And if we go down here, again, we have our Green Flame Blade, which doesn't do a ton of damage, but at 21st level, you get a little bit more powerful. But these are your at-will attacks. They're what you basically do when you don't have other stuff. And then all my cool other shit that I can do. Echoes of Sword Magic, and then my Vanishing Blade, and Dimensional Bond, and Lightning Strider, sorry. And then I have my Face Step, and then Armathor Step, and Dimensional Dodge. I can just teleport over and over. Oh, you guys can't see any of this because I didn't do the thing, sorry. Let's do this again. Boom, boom. There we go. Now you guys can see. Sorry, I forgot I had to turn that on. As you can see, all my stuff here. So yeah, AC of 26, Fortitude of 18. My initiative is now +10. These are my scores here. We have all my different skills. And yeah, all my cool stuff that I can do. I loved the card system. This was one of the things that I absolutely adored about 4th edition, was that when you use the character builder, it would create. You could buy these cards, but they would be blank, or not blank, but they wouldn't have the stuff filled out like this stuff down here. It would just have this here, so 2 weapon plus intelligence. So you'd have to figure all this stuff out yourself. But if you built it in the character builder, either online or the one that I have here, you could print these cards out, and I would just take the cards to my games, and I'd have them cut out, and I'd have my own little deck of cards. They were on just regular printer paper, so it wasn't like they were super amazing, but it was fun to have them, and I liked that. So anyway, so this is my level 11 character, and I think I'm gonna do 21. Because we're already over an hour. It doesn't matter. Again, this is just to make me feel better. Because I just feel like shit right now. So we're going to do 21 to get the Epic Destiny. And then we're going to do level 30. And at level 30, we'll actually pick out some weapons and stuff for him. Just so you can have some really cool max level gear. So let's go back to level up. And go to 21. Level up. And then we do this whole thing again. So they make me choose the feats first this time, which I find interesting. So once you get to 12th level, basically, because you don't, it doesn't help for 11th level. You start getting access to the Paragon tier, feats, and they do cool stuff. So this one here, when you use your phase step, you can also teleport an adjacent willing creature. Or this, when you reduce an enemy to 0 hit points, you can use phase step as a free action, which is cool. This one, just when you use phase step, you get a bonus to all defenses. Very useful. This one lets you use it to negate forced movement. But it doesn't let you teleport, so I'm not using that. I need to teleport. Always, always, always. So here's where we start doing more cool stuff. So distance sword bond. Call bonded weapon from up to a mile away. This one's even better. Can mark 2 targets with Swordmage Aegis. I definitely want that. Because now, again, marking was the thing for defenders to do. So being able to do that is very, very nice. Improved Swordmage warding. And this just gives me a higher AC from that. And yes, we're going to do that. So, deadly mobilization, distance sword bond. I might do that. Timely teleport. So, when you use second wind, you can also teleport a number of squares equal to your intelligence modifier as a free action. Oh, yes, we definitely do that. So now, second wind was another thing that all characters could use. And it was just a way to give you a little bit of self-healing in the middle of combat. I think it took your action to do as well. So this just gives me another teleport, because why not? Why wouldn't I want 70 billion teleportations? That's what I do. And then Vigorous Assault. So this one, 3 plus Strength modifier, 10 hit point. That's nice. How many more do I need? I think I need 3 more. So, Adept, Escalating Assault. I like Distance Sword Bond, so we'll do that. What else do we want? This one's kind of interesting. So, if you use your phase step when you are bloodied and no allies are within 5 squares of you, you can spend a healing surge as a free action. Nah, not a huge fan of that. I do like this though, because bonus to all defenses until when you use phase step. So that's very, very useful. And since this is a 21st level ability, I can choose 21st things. So this basically just lets me teleport as a move action. I can only move 2 squares, but I just have a constant ability to teleport. See if I have other ones. Okay, so this, when you use a charge attack and hit an enemy, you can use a free action instead of a minor action to mark that enemy with your Swordmage Aegis power rather than ending your turn. If you mark it any other way, the penalty attacked is 3 instead of 2. And after you use this free action, your turn ends. Not a huge fan of that. Oh, extend Rage of Aegis, immediate action to 20 squares. That's very nice. And then first use of the immediate action granted by your Swordmage Aegis each round does not count as the normal limit of your immediate actions you can take once per round. So this just lets me do it. You can normally only take an immediate action once per round, I guess. Shared warning. Jason allies get a bonus. That's nice. So this just expands your crit range. Marks any... When you use your Swordmage Aegis power, you can choose to mark any number of targets in the burst. Hell yes. Me likey that. Now I can just mark everybody and have my choice. I love that. Okay, next. I'm going to choose some powers. No legal choice. Oh, so that's what it is. So, when you get to epic tier, because you have so many powers, they don't want you overwhelmed with powers. So what you have to do is every time you choose an epic level, or a paragon level power, sorry, a paragon level power, because we're doing paragon stuff right now, you have to replace one of your heroic tier powers with a paragon power. And generally, the best way to do it is you just do the lowest one first. Unless you have something that really... a reason that you really, really need to keep this, I basically will lose that and replace it with these. So this one's kind of interesting. This one allows you to teleport you and the person. Master Dimensional Creep. Seed of Fire. Silverlight Strike. To the end of your turn, all your allies are invisible to the target. That's kind of cool. Acid Burst Blade. I want something that allows me to teleport. Enervating. That's kind of cool. Weaken target. Weaken is nice. And can teleport the target to a square. Fist of Force. Well, this one's kind of cool. So basically, I love this. So again, my sword mage uses a long sword and nothing in his offhand. And so he's sitting here, and then this is basically just and just punches him in the face. And this actually gets additional damage, plus I push the target a number of squares equal to your strength modifier and knock it prone. So this is basically like that I really like. If I can't find one that lets me teleport, I'm using that. I think I've looked at these, and Dimensional Slash is the only one that lets me teleport, and it's based on con, and so it's not really a good teleport. So I think I'm going to go Fist of Force. So I'm losing one of my teleportations. Makes me sad. I still have a crap ton other ones. We'll do that. And then again, generally the best thing to do is just choose the lowest level one. This was my... If you ever wonder what... It'll tell you right here you chose this as level 1. But it also will say Sword Mage Attack 1 means you got it at level 1. So I'm going to replace my level 1 ability to get something cool. Assault of Fiery Cuts. Make a secondary attack. I don't really understand how that one works because it doesn't explain. Oh, here it is. Secondary attack. So each enemy in the burst, area burst 3. Cool. Burning Mantle. Reliable is fun. Reliable basically means if you miss with it, then it's actually like you never made the attack. And so reliable daily powers are really, really nice for people like me who real bad. And it makes anyone take 5 fire damage. It's cool. Death's Blade. Eldritch Chains. Free the Storm Within. It's a stance. Hunter's Pursuit. Kind of cool. Inferno Sword. They're not giving me as many teleporty stuff. I want more teleporty stuff. Reaper's Challenge. And again, I guess I have a bunch of other ways to do teleporty stuff, but I like abilities that let me teleport. Here's one. Okay. So starts, you teleport 5 squares. Each enemy adjacent to you can see. So you just teleport in the middle, guys. 2 weapon plus intelligence modifier, miss half damage. Effect, you can teleport 5 squares and make a secondary attack. 1 enemy other than the primary. So wait, primary target each enemy adjacent to you that you can see. This one's weird. There must be a spelling mistake or something in here because technically I can make this attack up to 8 times if you teleport directly in the middle of everybody. But then if I hit, I can teleport another squares and hit another person. So I wonder if it's just supposed to be 1 enemy adjacent to you that you can see. I don't know. Either way, I like this. So I think, oh no, I think what this is it's, I make 1 attack roll that targets each enemy adjacent to me. And then I do damage. And then if I hit with it, it's not an attack against each one of them, like a separate attack. It's 1 attack roll that hits them, and then I can teleport and do another thing. I like it. We're choosing it. Cool. Utility powers I don't have to replace. Spiral Dance Assault. You hit an enemy with a melee attack on your turn. It's a free action. You teleport to a square adjacent to the enemy. You can use this power once per round. This is basically, I attack someone and I go, boop, and teleport to another place next to them. I still have to, but if they're a big enemy, that can be a huge move. There's no reason not to. And it's at will. Let's look at some other stuff just to be... No, I really like this. So I'm just going to take it. They've taken away a bunch of my teleports. I'm getting some back. Do that. Now again, I have to get rid of something. This is what I got at level 3. And again, we're already at level 17. So I'm not replacing every single attack I've ever had. So let's go ahead and lose that. And what do I get now? Surprise transposition sounds cool. So, this is immediate interrupt, range 10. Target 1 creature other than the triggering enemy or ally who is hit. Until it targets an ally, you do not make an attack roll. An enemy, the trigger. Enemy within 10 squares of you hits an ally with a melee attack. And hit, the target swaps position with the ally, and the target is subject to the triggering enemy's attack. Actually, I really like this. Because basically, what happens is somebody attacks one of your allies, you use this, shoop, and the ally switches places with another bad guy, and that makes the bad guy hit them. I really like that. But again, I like stuff that makes me teleport, not other people. So I'm going to check to see if there's other stuff that lets me just teleport. Ice Cage, Necromantic Disruption, Snake Strike. Each enemy reversed, mobilized. Sword Shock. That actually does a decent amount of damage. Thundering Vortex. So this one's kind of cool. Oh, this one, again, each enemy in the burst. Close burst 3. So it's basically a 3x3 square. It's the same area that now would be used by like a 15-foot cone. Like, what is it called? Burning Hands. It's the Burning Hands in this was close burst 3, so it's the same basic thing. Oh wait, no, burst is... Oh no, burst comes from you. Never mind. I was thinking blast, not burst. So yeah, this is actually... This would be very, very powerful. Wow, yeah. And it marks anyone. So yeah, this just allows me to do marking, which I can already mark everybody. I think I'm going to use that surprise transposition just because it sounds really, really fun. So I'm going to choose that. And then we have to get rid of this. So I'm going to lose power. And my 19. Whirling Threat sounds cool. Effect. Before you attack, teleport 10 squares. 3 up in intelligence, and the target is marked until the end of your next turn. Till the stance ends. Once during each of your turns as a free action, you can mark one enemy that is adjacent to you. This mark lasts until the end of your next turn. So it's nice. Again, there's a difference between marking and being marked with your Aegis. So marking is still useful, but it's not quite as useful as marking with my Aegis. But it does allow me to teleport, which I really like. And that one's not bad. So this one lets me teleport an enemy. Lightning Rod. Hellzone Blade is kind of interesting. You hurl your sword, and it buries itself in the chest of a distant foe. Your sword explodes, sends waves of rolling flames out in all directions before reforming in your hand. This is literally... shing! That's massively cool. Does a lot of damage, too. You're targeting each enemy within 2 squares of it. That's cool. Oh, Forceful Rebuke. Don't like that. You become bloodied or brought to 0 or fewer hit points. So this is an immediate interrupt. I hit them, and then I spend a healing surge. Yeah, that's the self-heal. That's very, very... For me, that's very useful. I think I might use... Because, I mean, that's cool. Because it gives me a I'm a teleporter. I'm going to do that. No, you know, this is just too useful as a tank. So, yeah, I'm going to Death's Resurgence. Choose that. And we go next. And again, I get to choose stuff. So we're going to go Intelligence, Strength, Intelligence, Strength. You can see my strength is now 20 and my intelligence is 26. Eat that, 5th edition. Now I get to choose my epic destiny. So you can see there's still shit tons of choices. So what do we got? I could become a demigod, which is just anyone when they hit 21st level can become a demigod. That's the only thing. And every Epic Destiny will have this stuff, and they have Route to Immortality, because Epic Destiny basically means you are becoming a hero of legend. Unlike in 5th edition, where you kind of, like, you can retire your characters, and you're basically gods, goldfish. You can become super, super powerful, but there's nothing built into 5th edition that really says that, well, now you are a hero of legend and everyone knows about you. In 4th edition, you were meant to become legendary, and when you got to the epic tier, you were a legendary figure like Hercules or Perseus, things like that. And that was the whole thing about this Route to Immortality, was basically talking about, well, how could you basically live forever? So, that being said, so Arcane Sword is a Swordmage one. And so, you spend an action point and take an extra action, you regain one of your expended Swordmage counterattack powers before using that action. So it just gives me extra encounter powers. And this is the other thing that I always thought, it's a lesson that I think a lot of 5th edition DMs need to learn. In 4th edition, once you get to around level 24, every character has a get out of death free ability. For this one here, once per day, when you die, your sword fights on in your stead until the end of the encounter. Each round, the sword can move and make attacks as if you were still wielding it, but it cannot be the target of any attack. At the end of the encounter, after a short rest, the sword returns to your body, and if your body is still present, you return to life with 1 hit point. If your body is missing, you'll need another magic. You will need other magic to return to life. So, this is basically get out of death free, because as long as they don't take your body away or disintegrate your body in some way, Sword's Vengeance, you become untargetable but can still do all of your actions, which as a tank is not quite as useful, but still very useful. And then you just come back with 1 HP, and you just need to be healed up to max, and that's all you need. And then you have all these other things like this here. Each target is marked by your Swordmage Aegis power until the end of your next turn. It's close burst 2. So, yeah. So this one could be fun. Trying to see if I can remember the one that I chose. It might have been Destined Scion. So this one, I have to look at the recovery. Yeah, that's basically the get out of death free for that one. Keep the other flow. Champion of Prophecy was the one that I thought about. Basically, the thing that I always thought was really interesting. Maybe this wasn't it. No, this is just kind of your champion fighter thing. What was it? You're Sybaris, that's a Eberron reference. Lord of Chaos, Magister, Morning Saber, Plane Shaper, Prince of Hell, Punisher of the Gods. Yeah, this is just nonsense. Storm Sovereign, Wild Hunter. Do I have any from Forgotten Realms? I guess they didn't. Harbinger of Doom. That's an interesting one. That's just a generic 21. Guardian of the Void. Okay, so let's do this. Arcane Sword's a Swordmage. That's any arcane, any arcane. There was a Ceaseless Guardian. Liege? This was the one. Yeah, so here. Once per day, when you die, an older, more regal version of yourself steps from the midst of time to take your place. You heal to half your maximum hit points and gain concealment against all attacks until the end of the encounter. If you die while in the form of your future self, you're dead. At the end of the encounter, your future self restores you to life if your body is still present. Current hit point total is unchanged, and you no longer have concealment. If your body's missing, you need another meta. But this was basically a future version of you goes back in time to save your ass, which I loved. I thought it was really, really interesting. And then this one, trigger an attack, hits you or an ally within 5 squares. Each target gains a +4 bonus to AC and reflex till the end of his or her next turn. Any target can swap positions with another. So this basically allows you and all your allies to just kind of swap places, which is very, very cool. I think I liked the Arcane Sword, though. I think that's really interesting. So I think that's one I'm going to choose. So now we go back here. So let's check out the character sheet, and this time I'm going to remember to let you guys see the character sheet. Boop. So this is the character sheet. Again, my AC is now 34, because that's how it works. My melee basic attack is now 24 versus AC. Damage is 2d8 plus 10. Everything is just bigger in 4th edition. It's like Texas. You can see my bloody value. I never talk about the hit points, but hit points get massive. Not quite as much at like, again, this would be the equivalent of like a level 16 or 17 character. And so 148 hit points is actually not that massive compared to like a barbarian that'll have over 200 hit points when you're getting up to tier 3 stuff. So, but still 148 hit points is still pretty good. I like it. And then if we go down to here, we can see all my cool stuff. So you can see now my Green Flame Blade does 2d8 plus 10. And I have my Aegis of Assault stuff. And then all my things. So you guys can see, I don't have, like, again, grand total, I have, what? 2 1/3 pages of cards here. So even though I'm a level... even though I am a level 21 character, I don't have like 7,000 cards. Because they replace a few of the things so you're not just overwhelmed with abilities and things like that. So, I like that. We have one more thing, and again, we're almost 2 hours into this. Again, I don't care. I'm enjoying myself right now. So, let's do our final level up here. So we're going to go here. Level up. I'm going to max out at 30. I get to choose the last of my cool shit. So we're going to go here. Utility powers. I don't have that many different things I can choose from. Ghost Walk sounds cool. You become insubstantial, gain phasing until the end of your next turn. So I can just walk through walls, which is cool. Borrowed Ascension. Fly. I can fly. And I can sustain it as a minor action. Yeah. I want to be able to fly. And now I have to get rid of something. So let's get rid of Echoes of Sword Magic. What do we got? Blink Assault. I almost guarantee I like this. So this is kind of cool. So before the attack, you and an ally who is adjacent to you teleport 5 squares to spaces that must be adjacent to the target. Frenzied Sword Burst. Nah. Grandmaster Dimensional Cleave. Another one. So, Lightning Bolt Charge. You slash your foes and transform to lightning, raise the cost of battlefield to reappear and strike anew. So, primary attack. 2 damage, teleport 10 squares. Miss, you only teleport 5 squares. Effect, make a secondary attack. So, again, it is double teleportation. I'm definitely taking it. Boom. Lightning Strider. It's basically what I just replaced. Go ahead and lose that. What are we going to do? Dark Soul Bolt sounds interesting. Quicksilver Blade. Sword Duel. What's that do? This is kind of interesting. So, does damage, which is nice. Until the end of the encounter, if the target does not attack you during its turn, it takes 10 damage at the end of its turn. So this is basically, screw you, you and I. Not only can it not attack other people, it has to attack you every turn or it's going to take damage. That one's kind of cool. Quicksilver Blade. Once per round, you can make a melee basic attack as a minor action. I already use minor actions for a lot of other things, though, so maybe not. This is kind of cool. So the target can only use basic attacks to attack. That is a huge, huge thing. And it has to save out of it. That's real big. Regeneration 10 while bloodied. Recycle Death Squib. Bounding Lightning. And then fire, make a secondary attack against that enemy. So this is similar to the one that I used to have, similar to Lightning Strider, except I don't teleport with it. Which I like the teleportation. Mind Swap Maneuver. Oh yeah, that's the one that does that. Which one do I like? Sundering Heart? No, Waves of Languor. Ooh, that's interesting. This will knock somebody out if they fail to save. I think we're going to do Bounding Lightning. So I like that. Then now I'm going to lose Fist of Force. I liked that one, but it's okay. So I'm going to get something even cooler. Dimensional Charge. Oh, this is kind of cool. Yeah, actually, I really, really like that. I don't think I really need to look at another one. I do want to check this. Enemy within fire. You must throw your melee weapon at the target. Oh, this one's kind of cool. So I throw my weapon and then I teleport. Oh, I kind of really like that. The only issue I have with it is it's a triggering attack. So, but still, as a defender, like that's really good. Yeah, I'm gonna choose that. And then Rubican's Assault. Yeah, that was that weird one. Just go ahead and lose that. Astral Thunderblade. All of these just sound so cool. Transdimensional Invasion. Wow, so it's a close burst 5. And then I can teleport the target any square. And then you could teleport to any square in the burst. This is really cool. So basically what this does, you teleport back and forth across the battlefield, dragging your enemies with you as you go. Basically, you can hit everybody. And then everyone that you hit, you can teleport and just move them around. And then at the end of it, you can just teleport somewhere too. It is massively cool. We're definitely choosing that. I think that's my last ability, right? Yep, that's my last, because that's my 29th level daily. So now we get to choose some feats. I do kind of like the phase shift thing, because being able to teleport changes things really a lot. So we've got that. So this is just the immediate action of it. Because right now they have to be within 10 squares, and this makes it 20 squares, which I don't think is that big a deal. Kind of like that because I can multi-target my Aegis now. So we're going to choose that. Shared warding is nice. Yeah, I guess I'll choose that too. And then stone warding. Boundless Enthusiasm, bows having cleaving axe, deft aim. Because right now I have 2 more. I have a 28 feet and a 30 feet. Just want to see what cool stuff I can do. Long step. Shift. Well. So phase shift. That is a shift. So. I would call that a shift. So that would give me an additional one. So I kind of like that. Yielding Fortitude. That would be nice. kind of like this too. I mean, I use my miner for a lot of things, but I kind of like this too, so I'm going to do that. Alright. I get ability increases. Again, we're just doing intelligence, strength, because I use that so much. Okay. And then choose 2 power replacements. So, Spell Sword Perfection. Alright, so I think it just means because I'm level 30 I get these things back. And then quicken spell, kick a casting. I think I like Green Flayed Blade for that. And then Spell Forward Perfection. So I just get something. I don't know what this is. I have to go back to here. Wording, implement, your blade adds its handsome bonus to attack rolls. Yeah, I haven't the foggiest idea what Spell Sword Perfection is. You retrain this at 17, you retrain this at level 23. You retrained, oh, you retrained into this at level 27. So I guess I think these are, oh, I think that's for my Epic Destinies. I can use one of these as a as an encounter or something. I'd have to look at my Epic Destiny again. So if I go back here, yeah, choose one Swordmage encounter attack power that you know. You can now use that power as an at-will power rather than an encounter power. That's what it is. So which one of these do I want? So Surprise Transposition is cool. That would be very fun as... So using that as an at-will would be massively useful. Like crazy, crazy useful. Yeah, we're going to choose Sword Chaser Assault. Because that's nuts. So... This is without any magic items, which is not a thing that you do. I would normally have, or actually no. You know what? Before we do this, let's go to the shop and let's choose some. I'm at least going to choose a magic weapon, and it's going to be a longsword because that's what I use. It's the other thing I really like about 4th edition is you could just choose a weapon and then just decide that that's the one I'm going to stick with forever. So, let's see what cool stuff looks like. We have Whirlpool Weapon. Being an attack. Close burst 3. Targets any... Meh. Weapon of Summer. Plus 3 item bonus to damage rolls made with this weapon. That's kind of cool. And this increases my defenses by 4 until the end of your next turn. Very, very cool. Vorpal Weapon is just always nice. So basically, whenever you roll the maximum result on any damage die for this weapon, roll that die again and add the additional result to the damage total. The reroll, so it's basically dice explode. And then deal an extra 3d12 damage with a Vorpal Blade. That's very nice. Vitality Weaken. Takes 15. That's very, very nice. Vitality Drinking. Vengeful, Trespasser's Bane, Thoughtbite, Shade Weapon, Runic Weapon, Radiant Weapon. There used to be... There's the Holy Avenger. Luck Blades are also kind of fun. Flensing, was that the one I was thinking of? Nah. So this one's kind of cool. You basically get a ranged attack with it that can, as an encounter, you get the ranged attack, and then as a daily, you can just pull it to you, which is very fun. Store infinite one at will or encounter attack power with the influence that you or ally has. This is very weird. Well, this is kind of cool. You store a thing in it, and it basically lets you do 2 attacks. That's kind of cool. That is a very, very powerful weapon. Blood Obsidian, Blade of the Eldritch Knight. So this is a set with other stuff. This is 100% a Swordmage kind of thing. Use a standard action to make a melee attack with this blade. Your melee reach increases to 5 for that attack. And this is just, wow, this is really nice. So any melee attack I can make from 5 squares away. That's cool. When any mark by you triggers your Swordmage Aegis class, attacking a target other than you. Yeah. So we're going to take Blade of the Eldritch Knight because... And main hand, we're going to go Blade of the Eldritch Knight. So I have that there. And I'm definitely going to do some magic armor. Again, we're going to use just leather armor. Just regular old leather armor. There's so many different armors, like Swordwing so many different things that I could have in here. Like let's do Fey leather armor and see what cool stuff we have here. So shockwave armor, crystalline breastplates. No, I think I'm going to do just the regular leather armor because I want to see if I can't get... If there is a Swordmage's armor or something. Apparently not. So, Dawn Warrior armor. That sounds cool. That's interesting. Doppelganger armor. Oh, that's kind of cool. Ever fading armor. I've always enjoyed gloaming armor. Shadow Dance armor, Shared Suffering armor, Shockweave armor, Crystalline Breastplate. Armor of Negation. That's kind of cool. Counter-Strike armor. Well, that's kind of very useful. I think I'm going to go gloaming armor because I just like it. So put gloaming armor on there. Let's go from leather to gloaming. And there's a bunch of other things that I could do. Arm slot items. Let's go all the way to the top. Bracers of Zeal. Feet slot items. So this one is actually, when you run, you can teleport the last 4 squares you move plus 1 extra square. This is part of that thing. I'm going to add those boots because it's part of that Eldritch panoply. Put those on feet. Boom. Hand slot. I want to see if I can create this full set. Nope. Hands of Hadar. Ha! Cool. Head slot item. There's got to be a head slot item for this. Laurel Circuit. Kind of Stuttered Time. Nope. Mirrored Mask. Nope. Next slot, maybe? So there's supposed to be 6 pieces of this thing, so... Mantle of Regrets. That's cool. Necklace of Fireballs. I remember that one. Not the +6 version, but I definitely remember Necklace of Fireballs. Shadow Dancer's Cloak. Far Step Amulet, I bet you that's... Oh, no, it's not. Use a teleportation power. And, yeah, that's really, really useful, though. Crimson Cloak. I wish I could click on something that would tell me all these. If I had the book here, I could do that. Well, anyway, I got enough here, so let's go back to Manage. Let's open up the character sheet, and we'll see the final version of this character. This is the, like, God version of this Giga character. So, there. All right. So as you can see, I have an armor class of 48. My passive insight and passive perception are 31. My attack now is 36 versus AC with my Blade of the Eldritch Knight, which does 2d8 plus 17 damage, which is very, very nice. Let's go down to my things here. So you can see I've got my Green Flame Blade, Sword Burst, and then also I can use my Sword Chaser Assault power as an at-will ability. So I can do that as many times as I want. So every time, basically once per round, an ally of mine gets attacked, I throw my sword at someone and teleport to them and then get ready to attack again. I love that. That is massively cool. I have my Ghost Sword here. My Surprising Transposition, which is still fun as hell. My Lightning Bolt Charge, and then my bunch of daily abilities. Second Wind. So yeah, as you can see, it's an encounter, and it's a standard action. And then as you can see, burn a Healing Surge, but then I can also teleport. Up to 9 squares is a free action. And then I have my Phase Step. I have my Armathor Step. I have my Dimensional Dodge, my Phase Evasion, my Spiral Dance Assault, Mass Aegis, Borrowed Ascension, I Can Fly, and then Blade of the Eldritch Knight Longsword. When you use a standard action to make a melee attack with this blade, your melee reach is increased to 5 for that attack. So I can just attack people from so far away. And yeah, as you can see, because I have this, the Eldritch Panoply. Legend survives today in the Eldritch Panoply. A set of magic arms, armor, and gear that supports the impressive fighting talents. Swordmage, I don't know if you guys can read this because it's really small. So when you use a teleportation power, you can use a minor action in the same turn to teleport again. Number of squares equal to the number of items you have from the set. So I only have 2. But if I get the full 6 set, I could teleport 6 squares. And then I also get a +1 item bonus to AC while you're wearing light armor or no armor. And then enemies marked by your... when they trigger my Aegis class feature, your next attack to that enemy deals extra damage equal to the number of items you have from the set. So they did have set bonuses. And that would be something that effectively you would... That would be kind of a quest for your character in their epic tier. If you wanted a set like that, like this would be something that you'd find them in different places. Like you would never get all of them at the same time. So that would be really, really fun. So anyway, that is the character of Talduin Yicthuan I always said that. Ichtheuan. So, Ice the Wan. This is Talduin Ichtheuan. My character, the first ever D&D character that I played for any length of time that didn't involve paladins fucking rugs and using their ejaculate to break traps. And yeah, like I said, this is why I love 4th edition. Like, it's just so extra. It is most definitely that kind of hyper heroic, crazy stuff that you would see in an action movie or something. Whereas I think a lot of D&D tends to lend itself, at least 5th edition, tends to lend itself a little more to more grounded fantasy, which is perfectly fine. It's not that it's bad or anything like that. But being able to do stuff like this, you feel like you're in like a Marvel film versus like Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, still an immensely amazing movie series. They were super, super awesome. But from like a spectacle standpoint, you really like Aragorn would never be able to go up against Thor. He just would. He would be trounced in a second. Even Spider-Man could probably, like, even the Tom Holland version of Spider-Man in Captain America Civil War, the earliest flavor of Spider-Man, or even before that, when he had his own homemade suit, could probably take out Aragorn in a fair fight. And Aragorn is an incredibly skilled combatant and warrior, but he can't deal with superhumans. That's not what those characters were meant to imbibe. And that's what D&D was originally created for, was to kind of mimic Lord of the Rings. But every so often, it's nice to be the kind of crazy, super-powered characters that you can read about. Like, as much as, yes, you can create a character sheet for someone like Elminster in D&D, with everything that they can do in the books and stuff like that, it just doesn't feel quite the same. And if you read D&D books, and especially if you start getting into other non-D&D fantasy, there are some like really, really powerful characters that you just can't recreate in 5th edition, but you could definitely do it in 4th edition. You just become these demigods and eventually gods. So anyway, that is going to be all for me today. All 2 hours of it. As always, if you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Like I said, this was just me. I feel really bad right now, and this is one of the ways that I feel less bad. So if you guys enjoyed this, I'm happy for you. If you didn't, I promise I will get back to more enjoyable content very soon. It has been a rough couple of weeks for me, and I needed something like this. Because to me, this is super fun. The only thing that'd be more fun than building 4th edition characters is being able to play it again. But that's a hell of a sell. So anyway, again, it's all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.